Good morning. Let's start that again. Good morning. This morning's carpet of red shows that it's not always the numbers that determine the mood. Let's take a look. People were worried about techs this quarter after blockbuster performance by banks as the week began. Tobacco is down on Biden's war cry, and church leaders are calling for a boycott against Home Depot, which refuses to sanction Georgia over voter rights. That leaves all markets down last night, the Russell losing almost 2%. Fed head Powell yesterday warned he wouldn't allow inflation to rise too far above the 2% optimist line, hinting that COVID relief only goes so far. At 11 today, we're expecting mortgage data from the U.S., followed by Canadian CPIs at 12:30, and at 2, the loonies central bank interest rates. Europe seems to be following in its own footsteps again as Russia amasses over 120,000 troops in Ukraine. European leaders are not yet ready to post sanctions against Russia, although in 8 years since annexing Crimea, nobody seems to really have joined those dots that lead to the Baltics, Northern Europe, maybe even Paris. Meanwhile, Ukraine, Zelensky has invited Putin in for peace talks, and Russia's Foreign Office has been sending threats across the Czech bows for implied responsibility in a 2014 arms depot explosion. Indices were down yesterday, led by Spain's IBEX at minus 2.9%, with both the FTSE and CAC in the minus 2% region. The pound is edging slightly north this morning, despite a disappointing 0.7% increase year-on-year in March CPIs, but a very pleasing 1.3% rise in producer inflation. Still ahead today, house prices at 8:30 a.m. GMT. Tesla is still reeling after it, to top its other woes. A car owner in China got atop his Tesla at an auto show and called for regulatory checks into the manufacturer's banks. Otherwise, indices this morning are up there in the 0.25% region, thanks primarily to farmers and banking shares. Australia, Japan, Taiwan, and Korea, on the other hand, are all down. Even the Hang Seng is 1.71% into the red. All this despite the welcome news that Xi Jinping has accepted Joe Biden's invitation to his climate change summit, which begins tomorrow. The Australian dollar is marginally up after retail sales grew by 1.4% month on month. That is after a 0.8% decline the month before. Bitcoin is slightly up this morning, but not enough to cause a trend after Time Incorporated said it would accept cryptos from subscribers. That follows WeWork, who opened the gates to crypto rents yesterday. With COVID resurgence spiking, oil lost $3 a barrel yesterday after the API reported a full 136,000 barrel stock increase. The EIA will be reporting at 2:30 this afternoon GMT time. But gold seems to be enjoying the entire brouhaha with a 0.5% increase during the Asian session. You may also notice the VIX has shot up 14%. Facebook has announced its Diem digital currency will be out this year. Unlike its Libra predecessor, Diem will be linked to the dollar. In earnings, Netflix COVID binge may be over, with subscriber growth slowing somewhat. Q1 revenues were up 24% year-on-year, and EPS doubled to $3.75. Johnson & Johnson, it was resuming COVID jabs in Europe despite blood clot concerns. That did not help company shares. Despite their quarterly announcement of a 7.9% increase in revenues, with EPS surging 12.5% to $2.59. Also performing well, Philip Morris, I guess people under lockdown smoke more, Procter & Gamble, and Abbott Labs, whose EPS skyrocketed by 233%. That's on a 35% year-on-year increase in revenues. And of course, Lockheed. Verizon will be reporting today alongside Ericsson, Heineken, Sands, and Halliburton. Sands is the Vegas hotel chain, right? Despite the fact that the oil sector was one of the hardest hit by the pandemic, the entire sector's comeback, we can see Halliburton there, has been just as dramatic, but it's nowhere near where it should be. Halliburton shares are still underpriced based on this daily chart, according to most analysts, but that double top is not just plain resistance. On the hourly chart, we can see how the RSI is oversold, the MACD tragic, and we're far below the moving average. Well, just a hint of optimism in today's earnings could push us up dramatically. Otherwise, we're probably in for a plunge. So there you have it, a recap, some political reverbs all around it, and even some tech analysis. Join us tomorrow and we'll see how it all panned out.